Hi, I'm Shelley Irwin, and welcome to Ask the. Tonight in studio, we have the paleontologist. We'll call him Paleo Joe Codal. Dig deep, collect your questions, and give us a call. The number's, of course, at the bottom of the screen. Paleo Joe, welcome back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So great to be here again.
You look like a Paleo Joe.
Yeah, I think I am, yeah. Little Indiana Jones, little Paleo Joe.
I can imagine. Let's set the scene. Paleontologist, what do you do?
Well, a paleontologist is a person who studies fossils, things that were alive a long time ago and are no longer on Earth today. Basically, these things have turned into stone. So paleontologist studies the plants and animals that lived a long time ago.
What's a fossil?
Fossil is something that's basically been changed and altered from its original state. There's no more organic matter. It's basically been turned into stone, and it gives us evidence that something was there many, many years ago. Sometimes millions of years ago.
Sometimes millions. And we'll have proof of that.
A couple of those, yeah.
Did dinosaurs exist?
Absolutely. I'm out in Utah every year digging dinosaurs, and I'm digging in this raw earth that nobody's ever dug in before, and I'm coming up with these giant dinosaur bones. I mean, they're there. There's no denying it. Dinosaurs existed.
Great. Let's talk about a few of your activities. First of all, Hastings is the place to go.
Yes. For the next couple of months, I've got an exhibit down in Hastings at Historic Charlton Park. The exhibit's called Dinosaur Prep Lab. What I did is I brought a small mini prep lab to the museum. I set it up, and I put in a whole bunch of other dinosaur bones, Edmontosaurus bones and things like that. And 3 times during the run of the exhibit, I'm actually going to be in the museum doing dinosaur bone cleaning demonstrations for the public as they walk by.
Great. So there are 3 different opportunities with that?
Yes, there are 3 different opportunities. The first one is coming up this weekend on Saturday. I'm going to be down there from 10 until 4 p.m. All day long doing dinosaur bone prep. I'm also going to be there May 3rd, and I'm going to be also there June 7th from 10 till 4 every day. And again, the public can walk by and see me actually doing this work. And the cool thing about that is if you go to the Field Museum in Chicago, you see the paleontologists working in the lab, but there's a big piece of glass between you and them. You can't talk to them. You can't ask any questions. I'm going to be right there like you are with me. You can ask me whatever questions you want. I can tell you what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Great. There's also an exhibit going on right now in Muskegon?
Muskegon, Michigan. We also have at the Lakeshore Museum Center, I've got another one of my exhibits called Fossils of the Michigan Basin. And that exhibit basically highlights the fossils that can be found right here within our own state of Michigan. That exhibit's going to be there until September. But don't wait. There's a lot of really cool things to do there as well.
You bet. We have a caller on the line. Caller, what's your question, please?
Hi. I got a buddy of mine. He tells me there that a long time ago when his family was putting in a dry well, that when they were digging up the sand, he found an arrowhead which was like about 3 times bigger than a normal arrowhead. And I thought, well, now what the heck was that, like a caveman, or what the heck were they hunting with the arrowhead that would have been 3 times bigger than a normal arrowhead?
That probably was a spear point. We had a lot of Native Americans in this area, and a lot of different sizes of points. When I was out in Utah, I discovered what they call a bird point, a very, very tiny, small arrowhead that they would actually use to hunt birds. Normal-sized arrowheads would hunt normal-sized game, and then you would have the larger spear points that they would use to hunt much larger game. Without actually seeing it, it's hard to tell how old it is. There are some organizations within the state of Michigan that do have experts in archaeology, which is totally different than paleontology. I mean, we use the same kind of tools and equipment, but they do things that people have touched, whereas I do animals and plants that have lived a long time ago. But the University of Michigan has got a great program. Go to Michigan State University. They can look at that arrowhead and tell them what period it is. But again, a lot of times you've got bird points, arrowheads, and then spear points, a lot of different sizes for different purposes.
Great. Thanks for calling, caller. We have another caller on the line. Hi, what's your question, please?
Hello. Thank you for taking my call. Back many moons ago when I was a kid growing up, we would find these so-called fossils, but everything that had holes in it at the time actually called fossils, or were they just stones with holes in it?
A lot of time, you got to think back, Michigan at one time was the bottom of an ancient tropical ocean, and we did have creatures that lived in those ancient oceans. The holes, without seeing it's hard to describe, but we did have things called worms, and worms that lived in the ocean that actually would dig through the sediment, and they would actually leave worm tubes inside there. And sometimes that's what you find, these rocks, sandstone, that have holes through them like that. That might be worm tubes. Other fossils that you might find up in the Trout Lake area, there's something called a chain coral. The chain coral basically has these holes that are hooked together kind of like a chain, and inside those holes is where the creatures would live. You've got all different kinds of corals, creatures that lived in the bottom of those ancient saltwater tropical seas, and a lot of times they look like they've got holes. You might find, and this is one that a lot of people find here in Michigan, crinoid discs. Crinoid discs are round. They're anywhere between maybe the size of a pencil, maybe even a little bit larger than that. They have a hole in the middle of them, and they're like little tiny poker chips, and those are crinoid stems. A crinoid was a creature lived on the bottom of the ocean on a really tall stalk, looked like a stack of those poker chips. On top there was a calyx or a ball, and on top of that were feathered fingers. Lots and lots of fossils here in Michigan that do have holes like that. We've had gastropods and cephalopods, which are snails, and we've got all kinds of, the cephalopods were like octopus and squid that had hard shells. So a lot of creatures had holes.
Great. Thanks for calling, caller. And we have another caller on the line. Hi, what's your question, please?
Hi. My question is, my children want to know what qualifications does a paleontologist have? How do you become one? Do you go to school for it? What is it?
Thank you.
Another fantastic. I love this. This is great. Basically, you got to go to college. You don't have to go, but parents want me to say that. We have people that work in universities and colleges and museums that are technical people that actually do the bone cleaning right there for the museums. Those people don't really have to have a degree. They'll be taught how to use those tools and equipment, how to actually prepare those fossils. Almost any job you can think of, you can do that job as a paleontologist. If you think about biologists, we need biologists to kind of study what the area was like back then. We need paleohistologists to study the bones. If you like the weather, you can become a paleometeorologist. If you like the oceans, a paleooceanographer. So many jobs in the field of paleontology. Just encourage the kids to go out and study and read as much as they can. Once they get a bachelor's degree, they can go to work in a museum or go to work for a college or university and gain more experience, get a master's degree, and then go on and get a doctorate to work in a museum or a university. Lots and lots of opportunities out there. The best thing to do is go to a 2-year school locally where you don't have to spend a lot of money, get all your math and your humanities and all that stuff out of the way, and then go to a school that's got a good paleontology program. U of M has got a paleontology department. Go out to Boulder, Colorado, any place where they've got dinosaurs if that's what you want to do, and then continue your college career from that. 2 years, get all the normal stuff done, and then go to college that's got paleontology.
There is a BS degree in paleontology?
Paleontology, yeah. What I recommend is also get a lot of geology courses. Yeah. Get as much geology as you can because, again, you got to know what kind of rocks these fossils are found in, and the best way to do that is become a geologist or at least have a geology degree.
Great. Let's go back to talking about what you do. Let's talk about cleaning bones. What will we see you do in Hastings? Well,
what's really cool in Hastings, I've got a table set up with a magnifying lens, and I've got my tools there. And people think you just reach into the ground and pull these bones up out of the ground and put them up in museums so people could see them. Well, we don't do that. These bones are extremely brittle. They fall apart very easily. And what we have to do in the field is we have to find where that bone is. Normally we clean off the top of the earth, sweep away dirt and sand and things like that called overburden. Then when we find the bone, we slowly start to dig a trench all the way around that bone. We call that a pedestal, and we pedestal that bone. Then we take tin foil, lay tin foil over top of it. Then we take strips of burlap that are soaked in plaster and lay that over top of that as well. Once that hardens, we roll that bone over, do the same thing on the other side.
Great. Put a pause on that. Let's see what the question is.
Yeah.
Question from you, caller. What's your question, please?
Yeah, I have. I was down in Ohio hiking along a river around the Dayton area, and we found what appeared to be 3 dinosaurs looking like teeth. I mean, one of them I'm holding in my hand is about 2 inches long and about 1 inch in diameter. Looks like a stone. Where would I get it identified?
Well, museums are great for that. Down in Dayton, I think there's a fossil museum somewhere near you, maybe down in Akron. Indianapolis Museum has got a great paleontology program down there. University of Michigan, you can check out there. The problem is you're not going to have a dinosaur bone. Most of the central part of the United States was underwater during the age of dinosaurs. And even if we weren't, there were lots of ice ages that came down across North America and scraped away all that dirt and sediment that might have contained dinosaur material. So dinosaurs are not found here. What you might have found, if it's a bone, it could be some sort of an Ice Age creature. It could be something even that was alive even after the last Ice Age. You know, people have been living in this area for a long time, and sometimes farmers, when their cow dies, their horse dies, they bury it out in the backyard, and over time those bones turn brown, or they turn black, or they turn a different color. And when they're excavated by accident, maybe a river changes course, then you've got a fairly modern bone. But the best thing to do is just go to a museum. It's got a decent paleontology department. Almost every museum's got some kind of dinosaur stuff, and just check it out there.
Great. Another caller. Hi, caller. What's your question, please? Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Is there a question from you, please?
Well, yeah, just another quick question on it. Is this, it actually does look like more like a tooth, and we actually live in the West Michigan area. Is there anywhere you can recommend in the West Michigan area to take it?
Bring it to Hastings on Saturday, and I can take a look at it. We do find a lot of teeth. Teeth are usually made up of a much harder substance than the bone itself. And a lot of what people are finding here in the state of Michigan is they're finding horse teeth or cow teeth. Sometimes you actually do find mastodon teeth. All around us here, people have been finding mastodons. Up in Muskegon area, people found woodland muskox. In Rockford, somebody found a giant beaver. They had teeth that were 6 inches long. And basically what we're finding is we're finding those teeth. So teeth are usually very well preserved.
Great. So you'll have one visitor on
Yep,
Saturday.
at least one visitor.
Stay with us. We're going to take a quick break, show you what's coming up next week. Right now, Ask the Paleontologist. Next week, special show. Ask the rehab expert. We'll put a twist on that and make that a cancer rehab expert guest in for Mary Free Bed Rehabilitation Hospital. Right now, it's bones, bones, and more bones. Joe Codle, our Paleo Joe, with us. Back to a question. Hi, what's your question, please, caller?
We found a mastodon bone, and it's about 3 feet long, and it was in a really swampy spot, and so it was pretty wet when we took it out. And now it's starting to dry out and get pretty brittle, and I wondered if there's a way to preserve that better, to make it last longer so it doesn't crack up and fall apart.
Thank you.
Fantastic question, and that's what's happening a lot in Michigan. People are finding these bones. The best way to do it is there's something we call Vinac. It's a mixture of acetone and little plastic beads. The problem is you got to order the plastic beads from the Black Hills Institute in South Dakota. But what we do is we mix the plastic beads with that acetone. It creates a liquid, and then you take that liquid and you spread it on the bone. What happens is the liquid soaks into the bone. The acetone evaporates very quickly, leaving the plastic behind. That stabilizes the bone so it doesn't break any further. The first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to try to get it dried out, and unfortunately as it's drying it might spall or break a little bit. The other thing, if you can't get a hold of the plastic beads, another great way to do it is take Elmer's glue and water. Mix Elmer's glue and water into a nice big tub, big enough to soak the whole bone. Take the whole bone and soak it down inside that water. The Elmer's glue will act kind of like the same way as the plastic does. It will help to stabilize the bone. And you pull it out of the water and it will be stabilized a little bit better than what you have right now. Great question.
Great. I want to go into that skull. We haven't talked about
the skull. This is actually a skull of an oreodont. I'll be cleaning one of these guys down there in Hastings. And what we do is when we get something, actually this is what it's supposed to look like right here when it comes out of the ground.
Oh.
I mean, it's hard to tell what it is. There's a little circle right there. That circle is where the eye socket is. And if we take a look at this one right here, I mean, there's the eye socket right there. The teeth are located on the underside here. I have to remove all this overburden from the palate right there. We've got teeth on both sides. So this is one of the ones I'm going to be working on, and when it's done I'm hoping it's going to look a little bit like this guy right here. But again, what we do is we use different kinds of tools that are specifically designed to clean these bones. One of those tools is this mini jack right here. We also use these things out in the field. What we do is in the field we take a compressor out there and a generator. We plug the compressor into the generator because there's no electricity in the desert. And then that compressor blows high pressure air through the tube into this tool. There's a needle in front of the tool that goes forward very quickly, and then it's pushed back by a spring. As it goes back and forth, it's like a mini jackhammer. And that's what I'm going to be using to remove this guy from the rock matrix.
Mini jackhammer or maybe a hummingbird.
Yeah.
Hey, a question from you, caller. What's your question, please?
Yes, I was wondering, is there a characteristic pattern how ancient grave sites or burial sites look like in terms of how ancient man may have buried their deceased, or how the stones fit together around certain areas?
Great question, but you're talking to the wrong person. I'm a paleontologist. You need to talk to an archaeologist that actually specializes in what human beings have done. There is one really great story, though, up in Sanford, Michigan. We actually did find mastodon bones that were lined up side by side by side. That's something that doesn't occur in nature. The bones are spread apart, or they're in all different directions. We had Dr. Fisher come up from the University of Michigan, and he looked at that site, and he determined that that was a primitive man's refrigerator. What it was surrounded by rocks, and the bones were lined up beautifully, and the bones had cut marks on them. They were probably set in a cold water, spring-fed pond, like a refrigerator. The animals couldn't get to it. Insects couldn't start to devour it. It was cold, so it kept it preserved. That was a meat locker for the ancient primitive man that was here. That's a really great story of something we found in Sanford, Michigan. So man has interacted with these creatures and done things like that. But as far as human burial sites around the state, how they're done, I can't tell you that. I'm not an archaeologist. I'm sorry.
You're just a paleontologist.
Just a paleontologist.
Good, a paleontologist. Back to this tool.
Yep.
Again, when you're doing digs, you're out in the middle of nowhere. You
Yep.
don't have electricity.
Yeah,
How
we can't.
do you...
Yeah, we can't take that tool and plug it into a rock. I mean, we're just not going to get any power. So we do bring a generator with gasoline. We fire up the generator. Generator generates that electricity. The electricity we then slave off into a compressor. The compressor pumps up all that air, compresses it, gives it a nice high pressure. Then that high pressure air goes through the tool, and that's what we use to break apart the rocks. Different size tools for different jobs. This one is more for use in the laboratory. You'll see me using this one down in Hastings. We've got a very large one we call an ME 9100, and that one is used to break apart larger rocks. So different size tools for different jobs.
Yes.
In the field, it's a little bit bigger than that.
Tell me about these rocks. Are they related?
Well, a lot of people ask me questions. Well, what do these things look like when they're, when you're finding these fossils? They don't look like that beautiful bone right there. Well, this is an example of one bone right here that I'm working on. This side is pretty much complete. It's been cleaned. I just need to preserve it just a little bit more. But when I roll it over and flip it over, you can see on the other side, there's the rock. There's the matrix that still has to come off of that bone. So all this stuff still needs to be removed. You'll see me removing some of that down in Hastings as well. Once that's removed, then we glue it to the bone, and we just keep going. Now, this right here is kind of interesting. You look at this, you can't really tell what it is. It's just a big brown line that goes through the middle of that. This is actually part of the Triceratops rib. Sometimes when these things are in the ground, we actually have to look at the cross section of it. And if I turn it for the cross section right there, you can actually see that dark brown line right down the middle. That's part of this Triceratops rib. So you got to kind of know what you're looking at to be able to identify these fossils. And basically what I have to do is all that light colored stuff, that all has to be removed. The dark colored stuff, that's the actual Triceratops rib. So it's quite painstaking. It takes a lot of work, but it's really rewarding when you can get something that looks like this out of something that looks like that.
I want to follow up on one of the questions from the callers that talked about perhaps just bringing in a tooth. How do you analyze that it's perhaps a tooth from a dinosaur versus a horse?
Comparative anatomy. We've been studying dinosaurs and creatures for a very long time. We've been finding lots of dinosaurs since the 1880s. And when we go out to the desert, we take with us volumes of research material. When I found the Camarasaurus out there 7 years ago, we actually have a book that has fold-out pages. A Camarasaurus is a long-necked dinosaur. And you fold out those pages, and every bone you find, let's say it's the humerus, it's the upper arm bone. Well, you've got an example of the humerus from a Camarasaurus, a Apatosaurus, Diplodocus, Barosaurus. You've got those examples. So you can actually look at the picture, look at the bone, and try to make a determination what that creature was. So there's a lot of reference material out there already. And then just knowing what you're doing, years of experience, you can pick something up and tell immediately what it is.
Do you worry about disease with these digs?
No, I don't worry about disease. This stuff has all been permineralized. It's all been turned to stone. Maybe if I was digging in a bog, looking for mastodons and mammoths, I'd probably worry a little bit, but not because of the decaying creatures. That's all gone. Almost all the organic matter is gone. I'd be more worried about the swamp water than anything else.
And remind us, take us back to Michigan's history. You alluded to we were all underwater here.
We were
in West
underwater
Michigan.
for a long time. About 350 million years ago, we were the bottom of an ancient tropical sea. And that's the bedrock that you see when you go up to Alpena, you go to Traverse City, you look at all the fossils we have up there. After that, well, over time, layers of sediment would come and they'd cover all those areas up. And then periodically we'd have the ice ages that came down and scraped all that away, and it exposed those layers of the earth. Up north in the Alpena area, we do find a lot of fossils that are around 350 million years old, the Devonian period. Much of what is found in Michigan is Devonian. And then there's a huge gap between the Devonian period and then we've got some Mississippian or Carboniferous rocks in Michigan, which are around 200 million years old. Up in Saginaw, Michigan, I found some plant material that's from the Carboniferous period. And then from the Carboniferous period till today, we've got the Ice Age stuff that we find. Again, dinosaurs are not here. They were all scraped away, or they're still buried way down below all the overburden, all the stuff that came down from the last several glaciers that came through.
Yep. Another caller on the line. What's your question, caller? Hello.
Hi. I was wondering, why do paleontologists think that the Archaeopteryx descended from the dinosaurs?
We don't. Great question. The Archaeopteryx did not descend from dinosaurs. The Archaeopteryx was actual parallel development. We've got the Archaeopteryx was growing on one branch of the tree, and the dinosaurs were on another branch of the tree. Really great question, because a lot of people have got a lot of things confused about the flying creatures. The Archaeopteryx, again, was a different branch of the dinosaur tree. Now, we do have creatures that are called pterodactyls, pterosaur, quetzalcoatlus. Those are actually considered flying reptiles. They're not considered dinosaurs at all. The creatures that swam in the ocean, the ichthyosaur, plesiosaur, mosasaur, those are considered marine reptiles. They're not considered dinosaurs. The definition of a dinosaur is that walked on land. So all those creatures that flew in the air, all those creatures that swam under the sea, those are not considered dinosaurs. Now, when you go into raptors, we're finding lots and lots of evidence now that the raptor dinosaurs had feathers. They may have had very primitive feathers, kind of like when a baby chick first hatches out of an egg, sticky, downy feathers. Maybe a little bit like porcupine quills. So we do find that some of the raptor dinosaurs actually did have feathers. And the reason we're doing that is we're now considering ourselves dinosaur CSIs, dinosaur crime scene investigators. We're looking at all the evidence that surrounds those bones that might tell us a little bit more about those creatures. So now when we're in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia looking at the velociraptors, we're actually seeing that the velociraptors had feathers. So when you're watching Jurassic Park 1 through 3, Velociraptor doesn't have any feathers. I hear that Jurassic Park 4, Velociraptor is going to have a few more feathers.
Ooh, there we go. We have probably one more question. Caller, what's your question, please?
I have what appears to be a fossil of a corncob, probably about a quarter of a corncob or so. I know it's not super rare to find fossils of insects and animals and that kind of thing. I was just wondering, is this something that's rare to come across, being a plant life like that?
Sure.
Well, if it's a fossil, it's going to be very heavy. It's going to be permineralized. It's going to be turned into some sort of a mineral. What you might have is, again, we've been in Michigan for quite a while. You might find something that's been buried for quite a long time. I don't know if you would really consider that a fossil, but it's probably something that is quite old. I mean, we still have people that are finding, like I said, horses that have been buried. Those are not really fossils. They're much younger than that, but we still do have that archaeological evidence. We still have that evidence that somebody or something was there. And as far as the corncob goes, I wouldn't consider that a fossil, because those really were grown after the arrival of human beings in Michigan and maybe even Native Americans. Corn really hasn't been corn like it is today for that long. It started off actually as a grass.
Tell me about how you're educating our youth in the library system, Joe.
Well, this is something we're doing with the libraries in Berry County. The kids are encouraged to come to the Berry County Library. They'll get this card here, and I've got some children's books that are on the market right now, and libraries usually have all those books. And if the kids read all 5 of the books that I have, Dinosaur Detective Club series, when they finish that and come back to Hastings, they'll get a Dinosaur Detective Club patch. And this is open to all Berry County libraries. However, if you don't live in Berry County and you want one of these and you want to read all of my books and get a Detective Club patch, if you go to any one of the Berry County libraries and pick up one of these, you can still come to Hastings and pick up your Paleo Joe Dinosaur Detective Club patch. What we're trying to do is we're trying to encourage kids to read. And I'm sure most of the Kent County libraries, the Grand Rapids libraries, they've all got my books in the library, so you can check them out, go home and read them. Then you come back to the library and you get a stamp or you get it signed off. At the end of the little 5-book reading contest there, you'll get a Paleo Joe Detective Club patch.
Well, Give me details again of your Hastings opportunities.
Well, Hastings, I'll be down there this weekend, Saturday. I'll be there from 10 to 4. I'll be there 10 to 4 May 3rd and 10 to 4 on June 7th. The exhibit actually strikes on June 27th. It'll be gone from there. So take some time this summer. Come down to Hastings to historic Charlton Park. See some really cool dinosaur bones. I've got 24 Edmontosaurus bones from a dinosaur that was about 35 feet long. Plus, I've got some Oreodont material. I've got a Kechosaurus, which is a Triassic reptile. Plus, I'll be doing dinosaur bone cleaning demonstrations.
Answer in one word or one phrase, please. What are you still waiting to discover, Paleo Joe?
Oh, wow. Every day is a new discovery. Every time I break open a rock, there's something new and exciting in there. I'm just looking forward to the next time I go out digging fossils. Yep. I'm not looking for anything special, but every time I break something open, it's like Christmas for me.
Great. One more time, how do we find out about you and your work, please?
PaleoJoe.com, my website. I've got lots of really cool things on my website for you to look at, for you to read. Matter of fact, you and I spent 2.5 years together doing a radio show. Those radio shows are uploaded on my website. You can click on the radio shows and listen to Shelley and I talk about dinosaurs and fossils.
You bet. Thanks for your education as always, and thanks for your calls. Take care.